If you're not tracking your calories in today's day and age, and you're eating anything other than whole foods, it's a recipe for disaster. You are going to gain weight. It's going to be almost impossible to lose weight unless you're causing yourself a lot of mental anguish being hungrier than you should be. Because those foods, without tracking, you have no idea where you stand. And once you start tracking, you realize this game we're playing and how cruel it is, how little calories you have to work with. And if you venture away from whole foods and you start going down those aisles in the supermarket with processed foods, I'm talking any of the processed foods, even the ones that they pretend are healthy, like some cereals that look healthy, things like peanut butter, anything processed is extremely high in calories. And when you're tracking and you understand what your maintenance calories are, you know that some of these foods can really send you over pretty quick if you have a decent serving, like a serving that's going to satisfy you. It's going to send you over maintenance pretty quickly. So you have to start tracking. Without tracking, you've really got no idea where you stand for the day. You need to first understand your maintenance calories, what they are. And a few ways to do this, but one of the easiest ways to do this is just to go on one of those maintenance calorie calculator websites. Type in your information and it'll tell you about where you stand. So say your maintenance, like me, is 2200 and you want to lose weight, then you start with a 250 to 500 calorie deficit. If you want to gain muscle, you have a 200 to 300 calorie surplus. If you want to maintain, you just aim for 2200. At the moment, I'm trying to put on some muscle, so I'm aiming for 2400. And I can tell you, if I'm not tracking, I would be shooting so far above 2200, it is not funny. Because I just have no, especially before I started this journey, I have no idea of the amount of calories in foods. And my body is always signaling to me that I'm hungry. It's always signaling that I'm hungry. I can eat, I got to be sickeningly full to actually want to stop eating. And I'm sure many people are out there like this, where you're just always hungry. The way I get around this is by eating, 90% of my diet is whole foods. I'll talk you through what I eat in a day. So for breakfast, I'm having eggs and some veggies, usually like a raw carrot and a piece of fruit, like maybe an apple. The eggs though, people make the mistake, they'll have 3 eggs and call that breakfast. That doesn't work. That sucks. 3 eggs is 18 grams of protein. You want to hit 50. You want to hit 50. Maybe it can be a bit less if you're a girl, but as a guy, you want to hit at least 50 grams of protein for breakfast. So 3 eggs, whole eggs, and another 7 or 8 egg whites. At the minimum. It sounds like a lot, but it's actually quite delicious. You add a bit of salt. It gets the day started. For lunch, I'll have around about 100 to 150 grams of a protein source. It doesn't have to be chicken breast. It doesn't have to be the leanest meat. It can be something, you got 2200 calories to work with, or whatever your maintenance is. You're probably higher than me because I only weigh 65 kilos, but you've got room to work with if you're eating whole foods. So it doesn't have to be chicken breast. Your life doesn't have to suck that bad. I'll usually have chicken thigh. I do enjoy prawns, so I'll have prawns, but they're super low in fat, so I have to balance that out later by eating more fats. Or I'll have beef burgers, which I think are 90-10, 90% protein, 10% fat. So I'll have a protein source and I'll have a fuck ton of vegetables: broccoli, zucchini, mushrooms, onions. I put it all on a plate, throw it in the air fryer. It takes 10-15 minutes to cook. Bit of olive oil spray, not the drizzle, because the drizzle will cost you. And everything I do, I'm actually measuring it. So the veggies, I measure it, I track it. It's annoying, but like I said, someone like me who cannot who's always hungry. If I don't track, I don't know where I am at the end of the day. I'm going back into that kitchen and I'm going to do some damage. So you have to track, even if you're eating healthy, track it. By this point, I've had like 600 calories for breakfast, another, say, 700 for lunch. Then dinner is where I've got a bit of wiggle room. Lately, I've been having like this massive bowl of oats. Like I'm talking 110 grams of rolled oats. I'll throw in some protein yogurt. I'm talking like 350 grams of protein yogurt. A drizzle of peanut butter. This is where you got to be really careful because peanut butter is got a lot of calories. I'm talking 20 grams of peanut butter measured. What else do I throw in there? And some of that sugar-free chocolate powder. So this is starting to sound all right, isn't it? It tastes pretty good. It's a massive bowl of oats, protein yogurt, really filling. It comes down to like 900, 1,000 calories. So that's my maintenance. That's it. That's 2,200. And I'm pretty full. Sometimes I'll swap out that oats meal and just have lunch again, the same meal that I had for lunch. Massive slab of veggies, some chicken, and then because that's only 700, I'd have a few hundred to play with. So that's how you get through the day, eating mainly whole foods. The oats, you could argue, are processed, but because I've eaten whole foods the majority of the day, I can afford the oats. If I wasn't tracking, I'd be tempted to go back into the kitchen. Now, some of the pitfalls that lead me astray, the biggest thing for me is if I've got DOMs, I'm tempted to eat more. Even though I can see I've hit 2,200, I've hit my protein. There's a temptation in me to eat more because I just feel like my muscles are crying out for more, for energy. And that's where you've just got to be careful, stick to the process. Like I said earlier, if you want to gain muscle, you're only meant to eat 200 to 300 calories above maintenance. If you're natural, if you're on some steroids or whatever, then I think the rules change for you. So this doesn't apply. But if you're natural, your body can only deal with 200 to 300 extra calories in terms of using that to build muscle. The rest goes straight to fat. So that's one of the big pitfalls for me. The other one is social events, like going out. How do you track? It's definitely harder and it becomes a bit more of a guessing game. But say you're going out for dinner, you got your breakfast on point, you've got your lunch on point. So I'm sitting at 1,200 at lunchtime. I'm going out for dinner that night. I know I've got 1,000 to play with. You know, if I'm going out to dinner, maybe I'll go over by a couple of hundred. But, you know, in the past, I might have gone over by a couple of thousand at dinner. But at least now I know, okay, I'm measuring everything. And I do, when we're at dinner, I'll pick something that's reasonably healthy that might fit 1,000 calorie budget. And there are quite a bit. If you've picked a reasonable restaurant, like you go to a Thai restaurant, you're going to find something on the menu that will be 1,000 calories or less. You can eat something completely normal, like a chicken and rice, you know, a garlic sauce chicken, or there's plenty of options with veggies. What I do, and it is a bit weird, is a bit lame, but I'll take a photo and I'll ask ChatGPT or Gemini, how many calories in this? And it's probably going to be wrong, but it's going to be around, you know, within 10, 20%. And if you're within 10, 20% on your worst days, then you're fine. But you've got to be within 10 or 20% on your worst days. And you can't be going 2,000 calories over, because that's when it all goes to shit. So track your calories. Track them meticulously. People think tracking calories is lame. And I think that probably applies to the 1980s when all the food, you're basically just eating whole foods. And foods weren't engineered to keep you coming back for more and more. Back then, that made sense. You don't need to track your calories. In today's day and age, if you're not tracking, good luck, because you got no chance. The foods are so delicious. Like, you can't You can't eat processed foods and stay under your maintenance unless, like I said, you're causing yourself a lot of mental anguish or you're just like built different. I know some people who are built different. Like they'll go to Macca's and they'll buy a meal and they'll have a few chips and just walk away. And that's not me. I cannot walk away. I can't walk away from food, whereas some people can. But if you're built like me, where you're just always hungry, you need to eat whole foods and you need to be tracking them every day. And maybe one day I'll get to the point where I don't need to track anymore. But I think that's the day where I start gaining weight again. Like I don't see a way out. The beauty of this is I'll get to the end of the day and say I've got, I've just had dinner and I've got, say, 500 calories up my sleeve. Then I can be like, now I'll just have that dessert that I've been thinking about and get it done. Like I'll go to the donut shop and I'll get a donut and I'll eat it and I'll be able to enjoy it and I'll know I'm actually not even gaining weight today. I've hit my macros. This is within my calories and it doesn't become like an obsession. And I've found that this is the best way for me to stay away from those really bad days. I can tell you, like, within the last 6 months, I've probably had one day where I've gone over by maybe 1,000, maybe a bit more, where I just lost it. I lost it. And, I'm sure we all have these days. And I just went in the kitchen and I just started hitting the chips, the ice cream, the chocolate, the lollies. I lost it. And I don't know what happened that day. I think because I skipped breakfast or something was different in my routine and I lost it. But I still tracked everything I ate. Every bit of junk food I ate, I tracked it. And I was like, this is where you are, Dan. You're like 1,300 over. It's going to take you 3 days to unwind this. Do you really want to push? If I wasn't tracking, and if this was the Dan of old who wasn't tracking, I just would have kept pushing until I actually felt sick. I would have just kept pushing through all the snacks that we had in the house. Maybe I would have even went down the shops. But I would have pushed until I felt genuinely sick. And by that point, I'm probably 3,000 calories over. And that's going to take a bit more than 2 or 3 days to unwind. So the fact that I was tracking still meant that bad day that I had wasn't the worst day. I guess the moral of all this, the point of all this is if you're not tracking, you really just, you're blind. You're in the dark. You don't know what's going on. By tracking, you take back control of your diet. I can eat this. I can eat this. I still have room for this. I can enjoy this little bit of dessert. Like peanut butter, I love peanut butter. And now I'm able to have a little bit every day. And that's stopping me from one day losing my mind and just going into the jar and smashing the whole thing. So it's just important to track. In today's world, you have to track. Otherwise, I think, like I said, you're shooting in the dark, if that makes sense. Cheers.